And my talk is going to be about that, how to take action, exactly what action is made up of, and why it's critical to recognize that humans lead with belief. And so at the end of this talk, hopefully I will get you guys to understand why right now you have everything that you need already to believe in yourself, to be capable to do something that is truly extraordinary, and we're going to walk through that path. But for my talk to make any sense, I'm going to have to give you guys a little bit of my backstory. Not that I can see a whole lot, but is anybody familiar with me prior to 7 seconds ago? When you learned that I wake up, wow. Well, I'm completely shocked by that. Thank you, by the way. So to give those of you who don't know a little bit of background, my story goes like this. Growing up, I did not show any signs of success. My parents taught me to be a good employee, which I'll liken to the slave's mentality, to keep my head down, do as little work as possible, and avoid punishment at all costs. And that's how I started. I grew up in a family in Tacoma, Washington that teetered between blue collar and white collar, and I was being trained to be a good employee. And when I left for college, my own mother, who's always been my biggest cheerleader, I think that's important to recognize, just quietly assumed I was going to fail. And every day since I left, by the way, my mom all but forced me to go to college, kicked me out of the nest. It was only one of, I think, 2 people to leave the state for my graduating class. Everybody else stayed home. I wanted to stay home. And my mom said, you need to go chase your dreams. But then every moment since then, my mom has done everything she can to get me to move back to Tacoma. And so finally one day I asked her and I said, Mom, I really don't get it. Like, why? You were the one that pushed me. You were the one that kicked me out. So why are you working so hard to get me back? And she said with no malice in her heart, I just assumed you were going to fail. I assumed you were going to fail and come home, but I never wanted you to ask, what if? I have the chills on my face remembering that, because that's the human condition. There is something inside of us that we all recognize that says we could do more, we could be more, we are capable of becoming something. But it's that path to becoming that we don't really understand, and it's that path to becoming that I want to talk about today. I love the theme of this event, Pivot, making a change while keeping your center. That to me really is what life is all about. But that's the hype. Now how do we get into the tactical realities of that? And to explain that, I'm going to walk you through some of my story. So my story starts when I go to film school. USC Film School, statistically speaking, is harder to get into than Harvard Law. And I managed to get in. I had taken one of the teachers out who was on the acceptance committee, and I said, look, I have really terrible SAT scores. I got a 990 on my SATs, by the way. I took it twice. That is my combined score. Monkeys with feces, just rubbing it on there, get better scores than that. And I was mortified. I went to the committee to find out what I needed to do to get into film school, which was my dream, the thing that I most wanted in this world. And they said, hey, as long as you've got good grades and you have a 1300 on your SATs, no problem. And I was devastated because I was so far from that. So I took one of the teachers out and I said, look, I have a confession. I got really bad SAT scores. I took it twice. Look, I'm just not good on testing, the whole story. And he was like, oh, who cares? He was like, there's 2 points of acceptance. One, as an incoming freshman, where, yeah, we look at your SAT scores, but the other is as an incoming junior, and then we don't care about your SAT scores, which are merely meant to tell us how well you do in college. So I'm just going to look at your grades. So if you get good grades, I'm not even going to look at the rest of your application. Cool. So I locked myself in my dorm room for 2 years. I didn't date. I didn't drink a drop of alcohol. I didn't go to a party. All I did day and night was work. And I studied. Because my problem was, my mom was right. I didn't show signs of early success. People that were looking at me expecting me to fail had accurately assessed what I was capable of at that moment. But what they didn't understand about me, what they didn't understand about the human animal, is our ability to adapt, grow, and get better. The most fascinating thing to come out of science in a long time was when they sequenced the human genome and they realized, and by the way, they thought they were going to solve everything. They thought they were going to cure cancer. They thought this was going to be the end of chronic aging. Like all of the diseases that we struggle with now, they thought they were all just going to go away. Once we sequenced the human genome, that was going to be it. It was going to be like a map to Xanadu. It was going to be amazing. And then they did it. And what they discovered was humans only have 20,000 genes, and some onions have 40,000. So they're literally looking at the data going, are we really meant to believe that an onion is more genetically complex than a human being? How can this be possible? Oh, and by the way, they were ignoring all of this stuff that they were calling junk DNA. Now, it didn't take them long to realize that that junk DNA plays a role. We are, without question, the most dominant species this world has ever seen. We are an apex predator unlike anything. You can find us in the Marianas Trench, which is the deepest part of the ocean. You can find us in the Arctic. We have literally sent human beings to the moon. And what that junk DNA really is epigenetics. Now, it's just a fancy word for we respond to our environment, and more aptly, we respond to stress in our environment. Anybody ever seen a professional bodybuilder? No? Okay. A professional bodybuilder hardly looks human to me. It's unbelievable what they're able to do, but they show in a very real and tangible way what you can do to the human body when you understand how to put it under stress. Now, if you've ever been to the gym, you know that the real money is in tearing the muscle down, not building it up. You actually build up the muscle while you're sleeping based on what you've eaten. So the act of bodybuilding, of actually going into the gym, is an act of tearing down so that you can create the stress so that your body can respond. Now, if you remember nothing else from my talk, remember this: humans are the ultimate adaptation machine.